Hey there guys, we're going to be going back to Helion for another clear. This time we're going to be doing somewhat of a budget run. So it is going to use Aang, but if you pulled for Aang, you basically got a free win on this Clash of Wills. So we're going to be using Aang to deal all of the damage. We're going to be using the free Gladiolus, who was free to EX2, well, with VIP coins. To basically be our Focus Plus unit to make it a little bit easier to fill that focus gauge. We're going to use Kaito for obvious reasons, killers, field. Well, we don't even need his killers with Aang on the party, but, you know, field and buff removal. Kresnik will be for filling the morale gauge, and that's mostly it. He's going to imbue the boss on turn 1. Honestly, it's optional. It's just for a layer of safety, but you don't even have to do that. Sylvie, just for filling the morale gauge. Now, Melissa is way better here, but I did see a lot of comments, what if I don't have Melissa? So we're going to use Sylvie instead. Sylvie's honestly not bringing anything to this party, except some morale gauge and a little bit of mitigations, but because we've got Runda, we don't even really need her mitigations, but, you know, it's a budget run. These are pretty old units, either old or free. And then Aang, like I said, you need an Aang for this clear. He's going to do all the damage all by himself. Okay, I'll show the gear and all at the end, that kind of stuff. So, the way we're going to do this, on turn 1, Runda will do his LB for the 80% general and physical mitigation. We're also going to use Sylvie's Magnus here, and that's for a specific reason. We're going to do the Magnus, that's for turn 3. Magnus, Compassionate, and Vines, because we're not going to imbue the boss on turn 3. I'm going to show you, you don't have to use imbues for those big dangerous turns, although it does help, but we're not going to do it. Kaito on turn 1 will just do deep and destable a few times. He is using a water weapon, and so is Gladiolus, who will just normal attack. Gladiolus is literally here just because he's a free source of Focus Plus. That is the only reason. He could deal damage, but we're not going to. He is geared in 100% support gear. So Aang on this turn will do Cleansing, Impaling, and Clear Sun. Now, this is important we do that first, because the last action, Kresnik will imbue the boss with Shining Siphon. Now, this is optional. It's going to make the turn 1 very, very easy. You could also use things like Mirage and Runda's mitigations and all, but we're going to imbue on turn 1. Now, technically, Kresnik's imbue is a 3-turn imbue, but we're not going to use it on turn 2 and 3 because we're going to be dispelling that imbue. We're only going to imbue on turn 1, and it is optional. If you're not bringing Kresnik, you know, you could just bulk up and use Mirage instead. So for this turn, we're going to just normal attack with Gladiolus. Like I said, he's literally just here for Focus Plus and support chaining. Kaito is now going to Crashing Waves. It's important to do it on turn 2. We want it to auto-dispel on turn 4. So Crashing and then just Deep and Destable to fill the morale gauge. Aang on this turn will do Rolling Mist for the field, Sky Shooter for the Bird Killer, and Awakened Divinity for the mod buff. Kresnik will now do Arcane Stimulant to fill that morale gauge. Runda will cover, Shell Protect. And Sylvie will Compassionate. Compassionate, Petals, and Resolve for the little bit of healing. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a balancing act. We want to, on this clear, we're not going to go into Mania mode until turn 4. I know most of my clears do it on turn 3, but we want to do it on turn 4 instead. We want turn 3, the boss, to not be as strong. In Mania mode, he has higher stats. And because we're not imbuing on turn 3, we want his stats to be lower. Not to mention, we're going to do a burst on turn 4, and we want the boss in normal mode so he has lower defense. So in order to survive turn 3, we're going to guard Runda. We've still got 85 mitigation from Sylvie's Magnus, don't forget. We've also got 80% physical mit from his normal LB. Sylvie will shift here and do her normal LB. Aang, well, we're going to burst next turn, so we're going to use Placid, his 150 amp. We're going to do N Wartiga, and we're going to do Eye of the Hunter Avian. Gladiolus, normal attack yet again, and Kaito will Downpour we're going to put up the field, and we're going to just do deep. So right here, look at the morale gauge. We want to stay under 175, but get as close to 175 as we can. We're a decent chunk away from that purple little marker, so we're going to go ahead and use Kresnik's Arcane Stimulant a second time. If you're really close to that marker and you're worried about going into Mania on turn 3, just have Kresnik do something else. So there we go, 168, we're fine. We're under 175. So we're not in Mania on turn 2. Now here's the dangerous turn. We are Gravity, and then Runda gets hit a bunch. Runda is using full evasion. We're also using accuracy down, and we used a barrier. So we survived it even though we did not imbue the boss. As you can see, it can be done. And keep in mind, Runda doesn't even have a leader skill. He does not qualify for Aang's leader skill. So this is a 0 leader skill Runda, and still survived it with using some evasion gear. I'll show you the gear in more details at the end. But there you go. You can definitely survive it. Keep in mind, we are in normal mode, not in Mania mode that turn, so it's a little bit easier to survive in normal mode. But that's the reason we did it that way. So we're gonna turn on Mania mode this turn. We're also gonna burst this turn. But before we do, Kaito will do Deadly, Natural, and then just Deep Submersion again. We're gonna have Gladiolus support chain with Extreme Nova, either the Materia, or if you don't have the Materia, you can use, what's your boy's name? Dwayne's STMR. Aang is going to SLB, and yeah, we're going to go ahead and just do a little bit of a burst here. The damage is not going to be super important. We're going to do like 20 to 25%. Okay, 20, that's pretty low variance roll. We've done as high as 25 before. It's totally fine, totally fine. As long as you don't go into phase 2, we don't want to push the boss below 50, but there's no way you're going to do that on turn 4 with this clear, so you're fine. So now Runda can use his SLB for the mitigation. Sylvie will do... Now there's going to be a multi-attack that bypasses cover this turn, so Sylvie will defense for the 5-stack Mirage. Then we're going to... Oh, back in the base form. Defense for the 5-stack Mirage. Petals and Vines to fill the morale gauge. We got to push the boss into Mania this turn. Very important. And Kresnik back in the base form. Now we do have a healing reduction, so we're going to just do double cast Curagia. Don't do Potion. Curagia has a higher modifier. And we're going to do Antioxidant to cure that in peril, so we take less damage this turn. So we're still not going to full heal the party. We only did about 20,000. That's a big healing reduction. But we should be fine. Runda's SLB... we've got 5-stack Mirage. We should be fine. Now, there is a small chance the boss uses a single target cover-ignoring, provoke-ignoring attack. It might hit somebody. Pretty much everyone on the party has guts, so no matter who it hits, it should be fine. If he double casts that skill and someone dies here, either try to recover or just reset. There's a small chance. I've never seen it happen, but I guess it technically could. There you go. One attack hit Kaito. He took 5,000 damage. As you can see, pretty minor. I'm just saying, like in the worst, absolute worst case scenario, he gangs up on somebody and they die. You might have to reset, but I've never seen it happen. Anyway, turn 5, we're in Mania mode. Now we're going to do Focused Plus on Gladiolus. We're also going to do Focus on Runda, because we need a little bit extra. Gladiolus by himself will not do it in time. But with Runda helping, we're going to get the morale gauge filled in time. Or the focus gauge. Okay, so now we're going to get set up for another burst on turn 8. So on this turn, we're going to do with Aang, Clear Sun, which should be off cooldown because of his SLB earlier. We're going to do Morning Dew. And we're going to do just a normal attack. So Aqua Arrow is fine to fill the morale gauge. We're going to use the field on Kaito. We're going to do Deep and Downpour. So Downpour and Deep. Kresnik on this turn can just do Potion, Remedy, and Antioxidant. And Sylvie can do, what are we doing this turn? Petals, Vines, and Compassionate. So Petals, Vines, and Compassionate. We're just filling the morale gauge right now. Okay, so turn 5 is a relatively minor turn. Not much going on here. Shouldn't really deal any kind of real damage. Also, we've got Runda's SLB mitigation. So Runda's mitigation is a tremendous powerhouse here. It makes the boss very safe when you're not using imbues. Because turn 6 is going to be another gravity turn. And again, we're not using any kind of imbue. I'll talk more about that in just a second. We are going to probably lose our little Runda. But that's okay. It's planned for. Okay, so this turn, we can just normal attack with Gladiolus, because again, we're not really using him for damage. The reason he's normal attacking, by the way, is to seal the boss, just in case we don't actually hit the boss with anyone else. He's using a water weapon. So Aang on this turn will Rolling Mist for the field. We will Awakened Divinity and Sky Shooter. Kaito will go to the base form this turn. And we're going to Mirage, because we're probably going to lose Runda here, unfortunately, because we're not using imbues, and the boss is in Mania mode this turn. So we're going to Pure Liquid to absorb water this turn. Then we're going to Tide and Current. That will be for the Mirage in case anyone gets hit after Runda probably dies. So Runda is going to... It's not guaranteed that he dies. Runda is going to cover, Runda Barrier, and Provoke. Sylvie will go to the shift form here, and we'll just Cheerful 3 times to fill the morale gauge. We don't really need it, but there's honestly not much else for her to do here. And Kresnik can do Mastery. That's going to re-raise for Runda, and then just Potion twice. Okay, so very high chance Runda does die here. If he does, he'll re-raise. It's not a problem. If he doesn't, even better. But he's probably going to die, and the boss is probably going to single target attack some other people. But they're going to Mirage it, so it's totally fine. So let's see if Runda survives or not. Very unlikely. Don't hold your breath. But it could happen. We'll see. Because the boss does have accuracy down, so there's a chance that his attacks miss. But he's probably going to die. Oh, he's missing a lot. Oh, we might look at that. He's missing a lot. Okay, Runda survived. So this is a little unfortunate. I was kind of hoping he died to show you what would happen. Because in a test run, he's died. He's died more often than not in test runs. But this time he didn't. In any case, we're going to assume Runda died there. So when he would come back, his SLB would be ready. So you would SLB Runda for the mitigation. Now, this is an important thing to note. If Runda dies, you will not have cover this turn. That is totally okay. With his SLB mitigation, you will survive, not a problem. Most of the party still has Mirage from the skills Kaito used last turn. And a few attacks would hit the party. They will deal like 1,000 damage each because we've got so much mitigation right now. We've got racial mitigation from Kaito. We've got Runda's SLB. So you're going to be fine. Unfortunately, my Runda evaded like everything, which is very RNG because the boss does have accuracy. So he still has cover. We're going to cover most of it. It's going to look very safe. It'll be safe even if he had died. Anyway, let's continue. So now, you'll notice the focus gauge is filled, all 3 crystals. So we're going to use the Vertex with Aang. We're going to use his 180 Amplify, and we're going to use Hunter Mystical for that bigger killer. Gladiolus will just normal attack yet again. Kaito will go to the shift form. We're going to use Crashing Waves here to dispel the boss and auto-dispel him later on. We're going to do Natural, and we're going to do Downpour. That's important to do it that way. We're not using Deep. It's totally fine. So Kresnik on this turn will do Double Curagia and Antioxidant to cure the imperils. Sylvie is going to go to the base form, and assuming Runda had died, we do Petals, Vines, and Compassionate to rebuff Runda. So here we go. Now, because our Runda didn't die, he's going to cover everything. The boss is in chance mode. His stats are very, very low. So even these attacks, as you can see, are still hitting the party. They're doing triple-digit damage. It's so minor, it's not a problem. Even if your Runda had died, he's not covering. As long as you've got that SLB mitigation, you're not gonna have a problem. Okay, so now it is time to do our burst. So what we're gonna first do is shift Sylvie and we're going to do the shifted LB for the modifier buff. Runda will now recast Cover, Shell, and Protect. Again, we're assuming he kind of had died earlier. He didn't, but he might have. Kaito's going to shifted LB. We're going to Extreme Nova with Gladiolus. We're going to SLB on Aang. And because we need that 100 count chain score, Kresnik will use Blue Wave, and he'll just jump in that chain to boost the chain score. So let's go ahead and deal our damage. This is going to deal more than 5 billion. It'll push the boss below 50%. It's not going to kill the boss, though. Not with a single Kaito, with a very budget team. So we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to wait. We're going to send Kresnik for the Blue Wave just to build that chain score. And there we go. 100 count chain. And we did 5 billion damage, or better, we did 7.6. Not a problem. Because we pushed the threshold that turn, the boss skips his turn. And he does buff himself. But Crashing Waves right there gets rid of the boss's buffs automatically. So now we're going to burst again. So what Kaito is going to do, we're going to do, before anything, we're going to Deadly, Natural, and we're going to reapply that field. Gladiolus will Extreme Nova again. Now, Sylvie, in order to let us burst again, we're going to I've Got Your Back on Aang. That'll fill his LB again. Also, we're getting another gravity damage this turn. So what we're going to do, we're going to Sylvie is going to defense and offense as well as that. So we're good to go on Aang again. Runda can guard here. That's so Runda survives. The boss is in chance mode. His stats are very low. So just like on turn 3, Runda should easily survive, even though it's a gravity damage turn. So we're going to go ahead and burst again with Aang, and Kresnik will, right here, we will do Potion, Remedy, and Antioxidant. Honestly speaking, we're going to go ahead and just Potion, Antioxidant, and you shouldn't need this, but for the absolute safety, let's re-raise Runda. I don't think he's going to die, but it'll be fine. And there's a chance we even kill the boss here. If we do, great. If not, that's fine. We're ready to do it again on turn 10. Unfortunately, we did kill the boss that turn, so I can't show you the turn 10. Okay, so on turn 10, Runda would get his SLB again. You would have Kresnik normal attack, which he's quad attacking, so that'll fill 40 LB gauge. Runda can SLB, that'll fill 30 LB gauge. That'll refill Aang's LB to do it again. And then you can use Kaito to base form Magnus and Downpour. That'll rebuff and re-imbue Aang, so you can do another LB on that turn. And Kresnik or Sylvie can do kind of whatever. But there's a perfect score with Aang doing literally all of the damage. I guess Kaito did 2 billion. The boss has 15 billion, so I guess we literally brought him to exactly 0 on that final turn. But again, if you don't kill the boss on turn 9, follow the turn chart, you will be totally okay. And there's the relatively simple clear. I mean, this is a super, super cheap team. Very, very old units, free units. You know, Runda and Gladiolus were totally free. Sylvie, Kresnik, and Kaito were 2 years old. And Aang, if you pulled a single copy, you get EX2 basically guaranteed. With VIP coins. So let me show you the gear. Turn chart will be in the comments. Runda is on Tetra Sylphid for that 5% evasion, also for the wind resist. We want Runda at 100% evasion because the boss can be evaded a few of the attacks, and with accuracy down, you want as much evasion as you can up to 100%. So there we go. Like I said, he has no leader skill whatsoever, and he still tank totally fine. So here's the gear we're using. We're not really using resist gear because whatever, honestly. We've got Kresnik to cure the imperils and all that kind of stuff. So full evasion, passive provoke, and just as much resist and bulk as you can fit. We're using the Omni-Tank card, even though we're not Omni-Tanking. So Sylvie, honestly, who cares? Whatever, literally whatever. Melissa's card, you can get this from the Vision card shop if you don't have Melissa. And whatever, just bulk, who cares? Kresnik, in the base form, is quad attacking, so dual wield and Yeti style. That way, if we didn't kill the boss on turn 9, you could fill 40 LB gauge on turn 10, so Aang can do another burst. In the shift form, and we start in the shift form, Celestite Rod, Treasured Ring, other than that, whatever, some bulk. Oh, Blue Wave as well, so that we can support chain to get that 100 count chain score on turn 9. And then a Open Heart, Open Home card for more morale gain. Kaito is using a water and a light weapon. The light weapon's not important, just a water weapon is fine. His Trust Mastery as well. Other than that, literally, who cares? Just a water weapon to seal the boss, and that's it. And he is using a Wilt card. That can be arguably not budget, but as you saw, we got to like 168% morale by turn 3. So this is a little bit more than you need. You don't need that much morale gain. If you don't have that, give him another Melissa card. But there you go. Gladiolus. Now, if you're for some reason having problems with damage, you honestly can't gear him for damage because we need him to Extreme Nova Chain on quite a few turns. Yeah, he is just here for the Morale Plus. That is the only reason he's here. Because he's a free unit that has Focus Plus. And you need Focus Plus with this party to get it in the turn limit. We don't have Melissa, we don't have cooldown reduction. So we need that Focus Plus to get 3,000 per turn. So this plus Runda gives us the Vertex ability in 3 turns. We gave him a water weapon and an Extreme Nova Source. If you don't have a Extreme Nova Source, give him Dwayne's STMR and then just make sure you keep him imbued with Aang. Aang on turn 5, instead of using Morning Dew, Aang would use N Waterga to imbue Gladiolus if you don't have an Extreme Nova Materia. And then as far as Vision Card, bulk, whatever, he doesn't get a leader skill. Keep that in mind, so the bulk is a little important. And then Star of the Show, Aang, Clash Gear, gears for the boss very easily. It is his Clash of Wills, and there we go. We gave him a good card. So Aang is geared very well, and he's also on Odin for the Overkiller for Dragon. But there it is. There is a budget run on Helion. Super easy Clash of Wills this month. If you pulled Aang, it's pretty much a guaranteed win. Because the rest of this party is so old. Anyway, see you in a bit.